You didn't find this message, or it found you. Not through coincidence, not through some algorithmic suggestion, but through an ancient rhythm woven deep within the fabric of your soul. A vibration, subtle, silent, sacred, has been calling you for years, maybe lifetimes. And now, at this precise moment, you are here, listening, not with your ears, but with something older. Something within you that remembers. There are teachings that don't arrive as information, but as recognition. They do not educate, they awaken. The Kybalion is not just a book, it is a mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but your frequency. It reveals the unseen laws that shape your reality, not by force, but by reflection. Not as commandments to follow, but as truths that simply are. These laws are not moral, they are mechanical, energetic, and precise. And if you're hearing this now, it means your inner field has aligned. You're ready to see what was always hidden in plain sight. This video is not a lesson. It is a key to a forgotten door you've always carried but never unlocked. What lies beyond that door is ancient, subtle, dangerous only to the ego, yet liberating to the soul. It will not entertain you, it will not flatter you, but if you listen, truly listen, it will shift something inside you, because once you see the architecture of reality, you can never unsee it. You are not here by accident. You were called. And if you've heard that call, then the time has come. The initiation begins now. Everything you see around you, the sky, the ground beneath your feet, the body you move through life with, was once unseen. It began not with a physical act, but with a silent thought, a wave, a vibration within the great mind of the universe. And whether you've realized it or not, you are still living inside that mind. This world you call reality is not built of matter. It is shaped by mind, your mind, and the infinite mind that holds it. The Kybalion begins with the most fundamental of all Hermetic truths. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This is not a metaphor. This is not philosophy dressed in poetry. It is a revelation. Everything, every joy, every struggle, every coincidence has emerged from invisible thought fields that ripple beneath form. You are not walking through solid reality. You are moving through consciousness, projected, reflected, and sustained by thought. Think of your own dreams. When you fall asleep and enter that strange world behind your eyelids, everything seems real until you wake up. The trees, the conversations, the sky, all created by your mind. Now consider this. What if waking life is simply a dream in a larger mind? A collective dream spun by the all. That's the truth Hermeticism offers, not to confuse you, but to liberate you. Because if everything is mental, then nothing is fixed. It can be reimagined, rewritten, recalled. You may have been taught that your thoughts are small, that they flicker and fade like fireflies, but in truth, they are frequencies. They shape the electromagnetic field around your body. They create patterns, draw people in, push opportunities away. Every belief you carry sends out a signal. And the universe listens, not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your vibration. If deep within you lives a story that says, "I am not worthy," then even the brightest path will seem darkened. If you carry the belief that love is unsafe, then you will unconsciously close the doors where love could enter. And here is the secret. This isn't punishment. It's not the universe working against you. It's the law of mentalism at work, faithfully reflecting the mental field you're broadcasting. This law is not just active when you meditate or think positively. It is always on, always listening, always mirroring. It doesn't wait for your permission. It responds to your frequency, which is why so many people find themselves living the same loops, not because they are cursed, but because their minds are playing the same song on repeat. So what do you do with this? You awaken. You step back from the chatter of your mind and realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches the thoughts. You are the silent witness, the dreamer behind the dream. And from this space, everything begins to shift. You are no longer trapped inside the projection. You are the one shaping it. The ancient mystics didn't just believe this, they lived it. Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage behind the Kybalion, taught that reality was fluid because thought was fluid. His disciples were not mere students. They were vibrational sculptors. They learned to observe the mind like a musician tuning an instrument, gently adjusting its tones, lifting its harmonies, quieting its noise. And so must you, not with force, not with guilt, but with presence. Every time you observe a negative thought without believing it, you reclaim power. Every time you speak a word that affirms truth, you amplify clarity. And every time you feel gratitude, not performatively but authentically, you shift your internal climate. That shift ripples outward. It touches your work, your relationships, even strangers on the street. Because the all is mind and everything responds. Your reality is not a cage, it is a canvas. And your thoughts are the brush. But here's the part most people miss. You don't need to understand every law to begin. You only need to remember who you are and begin moving from that place. Slowly, gently, deliberately. Practical exercise. The mirror of mind, 7 minutes. Find a quiet space. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Now breathe deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth. As you inhale, imagine you are drawing energy in from the universe, pure, luminous awareness. As you exhale, imagine releasing any static, noise, or inner fog. Now ask yourself silently, what thought has been shaping my reality this week? Don't force an answer. Let the thought rise like a reflection on still water. When it comes, observe it. Don't react to it. Don't judge it. Simply say to yourself, this is a frequency I've been living in, but I can choose another. Then ask again, what thought would align me with the truth of who I really am? Let that new thought rise, perhaps a phrase, an image, or just a feeling. Hold it, breathe it, let it echo through your body like a new song. When you're ready, open your eyes and carry that frequency into your next moment. You just tuned your field, and now reality will begin to respond. You may think you are sitting still right now, your body relaxed, your hands calm, the room quiet. But that stillness is an illusion. Every atom inside you is moving, spinning, humming with life. Every breath you take sends ripples through the invisible fabric of existence. Even the silence around you isn't silent, it's vibrating, because the second Hermetic law says nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This law isn't spiritual poetry, it's the blueprint of reality. At every level, from the subatomic to the cosmic, there is only motion. Even the stars anchored in the sky for thousands of years are drifting slowly, majestically, through vast cosmic oceans. Stillness, as you understand it, is only the appearance, of balance. Underneath it, everything is dancing, and so are you, your body, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs. All of them carry a frequency. They pulse, they radiate, they send out invisible signals that travel far beyond your awareness. And what you call your life is simply a mirror of those signals reflected back to you. Not as reward, not as punishment, but as pure, energetic resonance. You've felt this, haven't you? Those days when everything flows, when people smile at you for no reason, when opportunities seem to land gently in your lap, when your heart feels light and your mind clear. And then there are other days when the world feels heavier, when everyone seems distant, when small problems feel massive. The difference between those two states? Not luck, not fate. Vibration. You are like a tuning fork in a universe of sound. The frequency you hold determines the notes you attract. If you're vibrating at fear, you will resonate with fear-based experiences. If you hold anxiety, you will see chaos. But the reverse is also true. When you shift into trust, into calm, into presence, your reality begins to harmonize with that state. But here's the key. You cannot fake it. The universe does not respond to words, it responds to frequency. You can say, I am abundant 10,000 times, but if deep down you feel fear, lack, unworthiness, then that's what will echo. Because vibration does not lie. It carries the truth of your inner state like a song playing behind your eyes. And here lies the great challenge. Most people don't know what frequency they're vibrating at. They've never stopped to listen. They've never dropped below the surface. Noise long enough to feel the hum of their own being. They walk through life wondering why they attract the same relationships, the same disappointments, the same struggles, never realizing the answer is vibrating through them. The ancients understood this. They built temples aligned with stars, movements, spoke in mantras and sacred chants, not because of superstition, but because they understood frequency. They carved sound into architecture, light into stone, and intention into words. To them, healing wasn't about medicine, it was about realignment. Bringing your personal field back into harmony with the greater pulse of the cosmos. But in today's world, you've been taught to numb the noise, to suppress the emotion, to distract yourself from the discomfort. And in doing so, you've disconnected from the very tool that was meant to guide you, your vibration, not your thoughts, not your plans, your frequency. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an emotion before anyone said a word? That's vibration. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt a pull or a repulsion for no logical reason? That's vibration. Have you noticed how places, songs, even weather can affect your mood? That's vibration syncing with your field, adjusting your state without permission. And so the truth becomes this. You are never just experiencing reality. You are always co-creating it through vibration. Every emotion you suppress adds static to your field. Every truth you ignore creates dissonance. Every act of self-love refines your resonance. You are not a machine. You are an instrument. And the more you fine-tune your vibration, the more beautifully life begins to play. But vibration is not just about feeling good. It's about feeling truthfully. Sadness can be high vibration when it is pure, honest, and accepted. Anger can be cleansing when it moves without malice. Authenticity vibrates higher than forced positivity. So don't chase good feelings, i.e. chase real alignment, because truth vibrates clearer than illusion. So ask yourself, what is the tone you've been living in? What background hum has shaped your decisions? What frequency are you leaking without knowing? Is it anxiety masked as ambition? Is it self-doubt hiding behind perfectionism? Is it grief buried under smiles? Whatever it is shaping your life. Not metaphorically, energetically. The law of vibration doesn't require you to be perfect. It only asks you to become aware, to feel, to listen. Because the moment you become aware of your vibration, truly aware, you begin to regain the ability to shift it. And when you shift your vibration, your entire universe begins to shift with you. Imagine this. A radio can only receive the station it's tuned to. If you're on the wrong frequency, the signal is full of static. But the music was always playing, you just weren't aligned. Your life is the same. Love is always available. Clarity is always near. But until your field tunes in, it will all feel distant. Not because it's not there, but because you are not matching it. You are not a victim of vibration. You are its source. Every thought you nurture, every feeling you feed, every word you speak, all of them are tuning the frequency of your being. And the universe? It's listening. Always. Not to what you say, but what you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you vibrate. And here's the power hidden in that truth. Vibration can be changed. It is not fixed. It is fluid. You are fluid. You are a dynamic being capable of shifting states, not just through action, but through presence, through intention, through stillness, through surrender. The world does not need you to be louder. It needs you to vibrate clearer. And when you do, when you hold the frequency of truth, grace, love, the universe doesn't just respond, it begins to dance. So ask again, silently this time, what am I vibrating right now? And more importantly, what am I ready to vibrate into being? Look around you. Everything you see, the people in your life, the challenges you face, the patterns that keep returning. All of it is a mirror, a sacred mirror. Not of your surface self, not of your outer words, but of your inner world. The Kybalion whispers this ancient truth. As within, so without. As above, so below. This law is not a metaphor. It is not symbolic poetry. It is structure. The blueprint through which reality expresses itself. What exists on one plane echoes on another. The unseen gives birth to the seen. And your inner state, your beliefs, your wounds, your unconscious stories, they shape the very fabric of your external life. Most people live as if life is happening to them, random, chaotic, unfair. But the mystic sees differently. The mystic looks at a recurring situation not as a punishment, but as a reflection. What does this relationship say about what I believe I deserve? What does this limitation say about how I see myself? What is my world showing me about me? The world is not separate from you. It is connected through vibration and mirrored through correspondence. You are not watching reality. You are interacting with your own internal code, projected outward, reflected back. Have you ever noticed that certain patterns repeat not just once, but in different costumes? A betrayal, a rejection, a sense of being unseen. It happens with friends, then with lovers, then at work. And you ask, why me? But the better question is, what is this echo trying to show me about my frequency? It's not that life wants to hurt you, it wants to wake you, and reflection is its gentlest teacher. Because when we refuse to look within, life reflects the lesson externally. When we ignore the inner wound, life mirrors it until we see, until we remember, until we turn inward, where the root always lives. The ancient Egyptians knew this. Their temples were built to reflect the stars. Their rituals reflected the journey of the soul through the body, death, and beyond. The micro mirrored the macro. The individual mirrored the cosmos. They didn't separate spirit from form. They saw the divine in everything, every shape, every season, every emotion. But today we've forgotten. We've become hypnotized by surface, distracted by image, addicted to symptoms, and we keep changing the outer, our jobs, our cities, our relationships, hoping the inner will finally shift. But it doesn't, because the reflection doesn't change unless the source does. You cannot clean a mirror by wiping the reflection. You must clean what's in front of it. The same is true with your life. You can't fix the outside until you meet what's vibrating inside. Your world is not broken. It's revealing you to yourself. This realization can be terrifying because it asks you to take responsibility, to see that your anger, your fear, your longing, they aren't being caused by the world. They are being echoed by it. That's a hard truth. But it's also the most liberating one you'll ever know, because it means you're not trapped. You're creating, and creation can be rewritten. Think of a projector. If the image on the wall is blurry, you don't change the wall, but you adjust the lens. Your mind is that lens. Your beliefs are the filters. Your unresolved emotions are the dust on the glass. And your life, it's just the image cast from within. This is why spiritual healing isn't about escaping. It's about returning to the source of your own vibration, returning to the place inside you where the belief was formed, where the story began. Because that's where the power lives. You are not meant to judge your reflection. You are meant to read it. What keeps showing up in your life is the language of the soul, the symbols of the unconscious. Every conflict is a conversation. Every frustration is feedback. Every trigger is a teacher, but only if you choose to listen. And when you do, when you begin to approach life as a mirror instead of a battlefield, everything starts to shift. Your enemies become messengers. Your pain becomes clarity. Your past becomes a map. You move from blame to understanding, from defense to observation. But observation requires stillness. You cannot read your reflection if you're always running from it. You cannot understand your vibration if you're always numbing it. So the law of correspondence, simple but not easy. It demands presence. It demands humility. And it demands that you stop looking outward for answers that only exist within. Here's the truth. Your world is a hologram. Not an illusion, but a projection of what's happening energetically inside you. And the more conscious you become, the clearer the projection gets. Patterns dissolve, relationships shift, paths open. Not because the world has changed, but because your perception has. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what within me is resonating with this experience? That question is sacred. It transforms the victim into the seeker into the initiate. And the initiate, they understand nothing is random. Every encounter, every challenge, every delay, it is all exact. Not predestined, but vibrationally aligned. Life is not throwing things at you, it is responding to you, always. So if you want to shift your world, don't chase the shadows. Turn inward. What belief are you still carrying? What story are you still writing with your thoughts? What old wound is still echoing through your field? And don't be afraid of what you'll find, because the moment you meet it with honesty, with softness, with awareness, the pattern begins to dissolve, the mirror clears, the projection changes, and life responds instantly. That's the power of this law. It puts your hand back on the brush. It reminds you that you're not just inside the painting, you're painting it. You are the artist, the canvas, and the light. So ask yourself, with reverence, what is my world trying to show me about myself? And am I willing to see it? Because the moment you are truly, fully, the reflection shifts. And what once felt like chaos begins to make sense. Not outside, but within, where the real transformation always begins. You've been taught to choose sides, light over darkness, good over bad, strength over weakness. But what if this division leads to this constant push to label one thing as right and the other as wrong is the very illusion that has kept you bound? The fourth Hermetic law, the law of polarity, reveals a truth that your rational mind may resist, yet your soul already knows. Opposites are not enemies. They are the same force, expressed in different degrees. Everything has poles. Everything exists on a spectrum. Heat and cold are not different substances. They are one phenomenon called temperature. The only difference is vibration. Likewise, love and hate may seem worlds apart, but feel into them. Both require deep emotional charge, intensity, attachment. They sit at opposite ends of the same emotional current. The same energy, only separated by frequency. The same fire, just at different flames. You've felt this, haven't you? That thin, fragile line between passion and rage, between ecstasy and grief, between desire and fear. Polarity shows us that transformation is not about annihilation, it's about shifting. You don't have to destroy fear to reach courage. You move along the scale, you raise the frequency, you walk the same road, but in the other direction. This is not just philosophical theory, this is emotional alchemy. When sadness arises, most people push it away. They try to fix it, medicate it, hide it. But sadness is not weakness. It is love unexpressed. When understood, it can open the door to deeper connection, to healing, to softness. Anger, too, is demonized. But underneath, most anger is grief, a cry for respect, a cry to be seen. These emotions are not wrong. They are vibrations waiting to evolve. The ancients did not fear polarity. They danced with it. They understood that night gives meaning to the day, that stillness makes movement sacred, that winter prepares the ground for spring. Nature does not reject one pole in favor of another. It balances them. And yet, you have been taught to suppress your inner winters, to smile when your soul aches, to radiate light while burying your shadows. But your shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher. The more you suppress one end of the pole, the more violently it will rise. The law of polarity is not optional. It governs your emotions, your thoughts, your relationships. If you try to live only in the light, the darkness will eventually call your name. Not to destroy you, but to complete you. Because true wholeness includes all of it, the beauty and the brokenness, the certainty and the confusion, the divine and the deeply human. Real awakening does not mean you feel peace all the time. It means you learn to be with both poles, and with chaos and calm, with trust and trembling, without running, without collapsing, without pretending, because the one who holds both ends of the spectrum becomes powerful beyond measure. Polarity teaches you that everything is fluid. The most joyful soul may have once been the most broken. The kindest heart may have once been hardened by grief. You cannot judge a state by its current appearance. You must feel the movement within it. For even despair, when felt consciously, can become a doorway to awakening. And here is the deepest truth. You are not trapped in polarity. You are the bridge between it. You are the center point, the axis. And when you remember this, you no longer resist the extremes. You move through them with grace. You stop fearing darkness because you know you carry the light. You stop chasing light because you know it arises from your darkness. You no longer seek balance. You become it. So what does this mean for your life? It means that the next time you feel lost, ask what clarity is hiding in the confusion. When you feel small, ask what power is waiting on the other side of that contraction. When you feel angry, ask what boundary wants to be born. The key is not to push away one pole in favor of another. It is to understand that all opposites contain each other. You are not here to live at one end of the spectrum. You are here to move, to feel, to shift, to rise. And in doing so, you become the alchemist, so by escaping your pain, but by transforming it. Not by running from fear, but by walking through it into freedom. Polarity is not punishment. It is perfection in disguise. The universe does not demand that you stay in the light. It simply asks that you move with awareness through the dance of opposites, that you see in every contraction the possibility of expansion, that you hold joy without clinging to it and hold pain without drowning in it. Because the one who learns to move between the poles, consciously, gently, and awake, becomes a force that nothing can shake. So now ask yourself quietly, what pole have I been avoiding? What part of me have I judged, exiled, rejected? And am I ready to stop resisting and start moving? Because once you understand that opposites are not enemies, they are invitations, then every emotion, every experience, every season of your life becomes sacred. Not because it's always easy, but because it's always alchemical, and you are the fire. You've had days when everything flows. Your thoughts are clear, your heart feels open, and life seems to rise to meet you. And then suddenly the tide shifts. What once felt effortless now feels distant. The same path that felt lit yesterday feels cold and uncertain today. You wonder what changed, you question yourself, but what you don't realize is nothing is wrong. You're just in the downswing of a cosmic rhythm. The fifth Hermetic law teaches this simple truth. Everything rises and falls. Everything breathes. Nothing in this universe moves in a straight line. Not nature, not the stars, not your soul. You are not meant to live in a constant state of progress, clarity, or energy. You are designed to move in waves, expansion and contraction, inspiration and stillness, motion and rest. This law of rhythm is written into your biology. Your lungs inhale and exhale. Your heart expands and contracts. The moon waxes and wanes. The seasons turn from bloom to decay and back again. Why would your emotions, your creativity, or your spiritual path be any different? You are not broken. When you are in retreat, you are simply in rhythm. But the world has taught you to fear the fall, to worship productivity, to chase permanent positivity. You've been conditioned to think that if you're not constantly growing, evolving, creating, then something is wrong with you. So when life slows down, when your energy dips, when doubt creeps in, you panic. You think you're regressing. You think you've failed, but you haven't. You've entered the pause, and the pause is sacred. Real transformation doesn't only happen during the rise. It happens in the quiet, in the stillness between beats. It happens in the moment when the tide pulls back. Not to abandon you, but to gather the strength to surge again. The pendulum must swing back before it can move forward. And if you fight that swing, if you resist the descent, you suffer. Not because you're being punished, but because you've stepped out of rhythm with yourself. The ancients understood this. They honored the cycles. They knew that there was a time to act and a time to wait, a time to plant and a time to let the earth rest, a time to speak and a time to listen. But in modern life, you've lost that knowing. You've been taught to push through, to override your natural rhythms, but your soul still remembers, and that remembering is what calls you back when you're exhausted, when you feel lost, when nothing seems to make sense. This is not a flaw. It is the breath of the universe moving through you. There is no shame in needing rest. There is no weakness in needing solitude. There is no failure in needing stillness. Just like the ocean needs the tide to recede, just like the earth needs winter, you too need your sacred downswings, because without them, you cannot rise cleanly. You cannot sustain your light if you've never honored your dark, and sometimes, right before your greatest expansion, life contracts. It closes in, it forces you inward, old wounds resurface, doubts reawaken. You feel like everything is collapsing. But in truth, something deeper is preparing to rise. The rhythm is pulling back only so it can return with greater force. If you can stay present through that contraction, if you can breathe through it without resisting, you will witness something holy. You will witness your own rebirth. So when you feel yourself dipping emotionally, spiritually, creatively, don't rush to escape it. Don't numb it. Don't diagnose it. Feel it. Honor it. Let it show you where you're being asked to soften, to release, to let go. Rhythm always knows what needs to fall away before the rise. And when the rise comes, as it always does, you'll find yourself stronger, clearer, more aligned. Not because you forced it, but because you surrendered to it. Because you let the rhythm carry you instead of fighting it. You are not meant to stand still. You are meant to move, to breathe with the pulse of existence, to sway with the great pendulum of life. And the more you align with that rhythm, the more gracefully you flow through every phase of your journey. So next time you feel the tide pulling away, don't panic, don't resist. Just whisper to yourself, this is rhythm, this is breath, this too belongs. There was a time you believed in luck. You thought some people were just born fortunate, others cursed. That things just happened. Randomly, suddenly, unfairly. You looked at your struggles and whispered, why me? You looked at someone else's success and thought, they're just lucky. But the sixth Hermetic principle dissolves that illusion completely. It says, nothing happens by chance. Every effect has a cause. Every cause, an effect. This is not punishment. It is not karma in the simplified sense. It is not divine wrath. It is law, exact, neutral, unwavering, just like gravity doesn't care. Whether you're rich or poor, good or bad, it simply pulls. This law governs the motion of your reality without bias. It reflects. It responds. It multiplies what you give it, whether you're aware of it or not. The thoughts you think are not contained in your head. They are seeds. They fall into the soil of vibration and life answers. A belief repeated enough becomes a vibration. A vibration held long enough becomes a frequency. And frequency is what reality listens to. You don't receive what you ask for. You receive what you vibrate. Most people live unconsciously. They repeat the same thoughts, make the same choices, and then feel betrayed by life when the same patterns come back around. But how can a different result emerge when the cause never changed? The universe is not punishing you, it's proving to you that the energy you're emitting is active, alive, and magnetic. Your current life, in all its beauty and in all its pain, is not the result of fate. It is the accumulation of unseen causes, some from yesterday, some from last year, some you don't even remember planting. But every word you've spoken, every belief you've held, every fear you've clung to, all of it formed ripples, and those ripples became your world. And here's the part most people avoid. Even your silence is causal. Even the choices you didn't make, the words you didn't speak, the truth you didn't live, those too had consequences, because in a vibrational universe, even non-action creates energy. Even stillness sends signals. Even denial is a form of creation. But there is no need to be afraid, because while this law holds you accountable, it also sets you free. Once you realize that your life is a reflection of your vibration, you stop waiting for miracles and start becoming one. You begin to observe your inner world with reverence. You begin to watch your words. You begin to tend to your emotions like a sacred garden, because you know every seed matters, every vibration shapes. Think of someone who constantly complains about people, about money, about life. They're not just venting, they're programming their field. Their words are frequencies, their tone is energy, their emotions electromagnetic fields. And life? It listens, it shapes, it reflects, not because it's cruel, but because it's fair. Now think of someone who lives with gratitude, not the fake kind, but real, cellular gratitude. They feel it, they mean it, they walk with it. Even in hardship they find light. And somehow life begins to respond, not always instantly, but consistently, because they've planted the seeds. And life cannot help but answer. And what about you? What are you planting right now in this very moment? What are you feeding your mind? What are you speaking over your life? What emotion are you rehearsing every morning? Because all of it is creating motion. All of it is shaping the future. This is why awareness matters more than effort. You can't cheat vibration. You can't pretend your way to peace. You can't hustle your way to alignment. You must become it. You must feel it. You must live in it. Quietly, steadily, truly. The law of cause and effect also teaches you patience, because some causes take time, just like a seed doesn't bloom the next day. Some vibrations unfold slowly, through seasons, through lessons, through layers. You've just shifted your frequency, but life still reflects the old one. Don't panic. The echo hasn't caught up yet, but it will. And when you understand this law deeply, you stop taking things personally. You stop blaming. You stop chasing. Because you realize if something is showing up, it's because something within you called it. Not in guilt, but in growth. And if you created it, you can recreate it. You can shift the cause and life will shift the effect. This doesn't mean everything that happens is your fault. It means everything that happens is your reflection. And some of those reflections are ancestral. Some are collective. Some are karmic echoes from choices you can't remember. But the moment you meet them with awareness, you become the new cause. You become the disruptor, the breaker of cycles, the transmitter of new frequencies. You are not a puppet being dragged through random events. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the current. You are the script. And this script changes the moment you choose to become conscious. So, now pause, ask yourself, what kind of causes am I creating today? through my attention, through my tone, through the way I speak to myself when no one is listening. What am I rehearsing in my nervous system? What am I telling the field around me to become? Because the field is always listening, and it never forgets. This is not pressure. This is power. You are not small. You are not helpless. You are made of the same intelligence that moves planets and birth stars, and that intelligence is waiting for your signal, not someday. Right now. So speak like your words will echo. Think like your thoughts are magnetic. Love like your heart is building futures. And walk like every step leaves a trail of light behind you. Because it does. Everything is cause. Everything is effect. Nothing is by chance, and you are the beginning of all of it. Inside you, there are two forces. You may not see them, but you feel them. One moves forward, clear, focused, sharp like a beam of light. The other opens inward, soft, intuitive, fluid like a river. These are not genders in the human sense. They are energies, the masculine and the feminine, and everything in creation, every idea, every breath, every universe is born from their dance. The seventh Hermetic law teaches that nothing can be created without this balance. The masculine energy gives direction, the feminine energy gives depth. One penetrates, the other receives, one initiates, the other nurtures. And just as a seed cannot grow without soil, just as light needs a vessel to shine into, one without, the other is incomplete. But we live in a world that worships imbalance, a world where the masculine principle, action, logic, control, has been placed on a pedestal, while the feminine, intuition, emotion, stillness, has been silenced. We are told to push, to build, to strive, to hustle without rest, to dominate without reflection, and in doing so we've lost the sacred art of receiving. You've been taught that success comes from force, that if you just think harder, work faster, do more, you'll win. But look around. People are burned out. Souls are exhausted. Because creation without feminine energy is not creation. It's consumption. It's noise without meaning. Motion without grounding. Power without wisdom. And perhaps you've felt it. That inner fatigue. That sense that no matter how much you achieve, something is missing. That's the feminine within you calling. Not to stop you, but to hold you, to soften you, to bring you back into rhythm. She doesn't want less from you, she wants more of you. Your truth, your presence, your feeling, your surrender. The law of gender asks you to remember, receiving is not weakness. It is wisdom. Intuition is not vague. It is ancient intelligence. And rest is not laziness. It is a sacred reset. In the soil of stillness, the deepest seeds are planted, and without it, the most brilliant ideas die before they're born. This isn't about man or woman. This is about polarity within the self. You might be biologically male but deeply intuitive, emotionally deep, energetically receptive. You might be biologically female but fiercely focused, decisive, grounded in presence. That is not contradiction, it is harmony. You are not here to fit a mold. You are here to become whole. The masculine within you is the part that says, I will. The feminine is the part that whispers, I feel. One without the other leads to imbalance. If you only act without feeling, you become disconnected, mechanical. If you only feel without direction, you become lost, unanchored. But when you let both speak, something powerful happens. Creation begins. A dream is conceived in the feminine, in the invisible, in the formless, in the imagination. It is then manifested by the masculine through structure, through focus, through action. Every great work of art, every act of healing, every soul awakening, it begins in the womb of stillness and is birthed through the fire of intention. Think about it. When you meditate, you enter the feminine, you receive. When you speak your truth, you step into the masculine, you express. When you envision, you soften. When you act on that vision, you sharpen. These are not contradictions, they are sacred steps in the same dance, and like any dance, it requires rhythm. You must learn when to lead and when to let go, when to hold your ground, and when to melt into the unknown. There is no formula. There is only feeling, presence, alignment, listening to the movement within you that says, now is the time to pause, now is the time to leap, now is the time to rest, now is the time to roar. If you suppress your feminine, you lose your soul. If you suppress your masculine, you lose your spine. But when you integrate both, you stand tall and you shine deep. You stop seeking validation and start radiating truth. You stop chasing and start creating, not from force, not from fear, but from sacred, balanced power. This is the true sacred union, the inner marriage of spirit and flesh, of thought and feeling, of doing and being. And when you align with it, life begins to respond in a new way. You become magnetic because your field is complete, coherent, alive. And here's what's beautiful. You don't have to master this overnight. You simply begin to notice. Where am I forcing? Where am I avoiding? Where am I over-controlling because I'm afraid to receive? Where am I drifting because I'm afraid to choose? These questions don't judge you, they reveal you, and in the revealing, balance returns. So today, just ask yourself gently, what does my inner feminine need to feel safe again? And what does my inner masculine need to feel trusted again? Let those answers rise slowly, like moonlight, and as they do, you'll feel it, the quiet hum of balance returning. You'll feel the sacred geometry of your being begin to pulse with rhythm again, because creation, real, soulful, lasting creation, is not a solo act. It is a duet, a harmony between the divine masculine and the sacred feminine within you. And when they dance together, the entire universe opens its arms. You think you're moving through life. You wake up, you go about your day, you interact, you plan. You think you're shaping your reality through action, through effort, through choices. But the truth is deeper, far more mystical. You are not just walking through the world, you are walking through your own reflection, everything around you and the people you meet, the relationships you struggle with, the synchronicities, the rejections, the blessings. All of it is your mirror. Life is not speaking English or Urdu or any human language. It is speaking vibration. It is showing you moment by moment what you carry inside, not what you say, not what you want, but what you are. You say you want peace, but you vibrate chaos. You say you want love, but you carry the silent wound of unworthiness. You say you want abundance, but your beliefs still whisper, not enough. The universe is not ignoring you. It is responding to your most consistent signal. Because this reality doesn't speak intention, it speaks frequency, and frequency never lies. The law of correspondence taught you as within, so without. But here, in the mirror of reality, that principle becomes visceral, intimate. It stops being philosophy and becomes personal. You begin to see that your world has been trying to show you yourself all along. Have you ever noticed how certain types of people keep appearing in your life? The ones who don't listen, the ones who abandon, the ones who challenge your boundaries. You might wonder, why do I keep attracting them? The mirror answers, not with blame, but with a deeper question. What belief inside you makes this reflection necessary? Not to punish, but to awaken. The mirror is not cruel, it is precise, and it does not show you what you want to see, it shows you what you need to heal. Every painful pattern, every frustrating loop, it is not a failure. It is a frequency. Until it is resolved within, it will repeat without. Not because the universe is broken, but because it is loyal to your vibration. Even your successes are mirrors. The people who love you unconditionally, they reflect the parts of you that are finally learning to love yourself. The moments of ease, synchronicity, magic, they reveal alignment. The light shows up just as truthfully as the shadow, but most people only look to the mirror when things go wrong. They forget to study the reflection when things go right. Your relationships, in particular, are the clearest mirrors. You attract people based on the energy you carry, not the words you say. And when someone triggers you, when their presence activates something deep, it's not always because they're wrong. Sometimes it's because they're accurate. They're showing you something buried, something you haven't dared to see, and if you're willing to look, really look, you can begin to decode what life is saying. That criticism from a friend, maybe it reflects your own harsh inner voice. That abandonment from a partner, maybe it echoes a self you abandoned long ago. That opportunity you keep missing, maybe it reveals a belief that says, I don't deserve to receive. This is not about guilt. This is about responsibility, radical, soul-deep responsibility, not for what happens, but for what resonates, because you can't always control what shows up. But you can always ask, what is this here to show me? You don't shift the mirror by scratching the surface. You shift it by changing the source, and that source is always inside. That's why self-work, healing, and deep inner honesty are not luxuries, they are necessities. Not because you need to be fixed, but because your world can only reflect what you're ready to face. The mirror is always tuned to your unconscious. Not the mask you wear, not the story you tell, but the raw, unfiltered frequency of what you carry when no one is watching. That's the reflection life responds to. And that's where transformation begins. In the space where no one else can see, but where everything is being seen. And here's the magic. When you shift the frequency within, the mirror has no choice but to change. Suddenly, the people who used to trigger you fall away or evolve. The opportunities you used to chase start appearing without force. The loops begin to dissolve. And it's not because the world changed, it's because you did. Your vibration became incompatible with the old reflection, and life, loyal as ever, reflected the new one. You don't need to fix your life. You need to understand it, read it, translate it. Your external world is your soul speaking in symbols. Your reality is a message, customized just for you. But only if you learn to listen beyond language. Only if you stop blaming and start beholding. And when you do, when you begin to live as if life is your mirror, something subtle but powerful awakens. You start walking differently. You speak with more care. You become more conscious of your emotional tone, your energetic imprint. You stop waiting for things to change because you've realized the change begins with you. So ask yourself, not with fear, but with reverence,
What is my life trying to show me?
What have I been refusing to see that's been showing up again and again? And when that answer comes, even if it stings, honor it, because that's not punishment. That's liberation. That's the mirror saying you're ready now, and once you are, reality begins to shimmer, not as something to fear, but as something to trust, not as something separate, but as your own soul speaking back to you. You thought healing would be final, that once the pain was named, once the wound was touched, it would vanish. You thought awakening would be permanent, that once the light broke through, it would never flicker again. But then, one day, the pattern returned. The fear you thought you outgrew came back. The old ache whispered again. And you wondered, why am I here again? I thought I was past this. But here is the truth no one tells you. You are not going in circles. You are rising in spirals. Spiritual growth is not a ladder. It is not linear. It is not neat. It is not a staircase of permanent elevation. It is a spiral, mysterious, looping, elegant. And yes, it brings you back to the same wounds, the same fears, the same questions. But you are never standing in the same place. You are meeting them again, from above, from deeper presence, from higher consciousness. Imagine climbing a spiral staircase. As you rise, you look down and see the same point you passed before. But you are not where you were. You are above it now. Your perspective is wider. Your breath is steadier. Your awareness is clearer. That's what real growth looks like. Not perfection, but depth. And yet, when you revisit pain, the mind panics. It says, I failed, I've regressed, I'm broken, again. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that return is not regression, it is invitation. The same wound that once shattered you now invites you to meet it with grace. The same trigger that once collapsed you now becomes your teacher. Not because the pain changed, but because you did. You are not being tested. You are being shown how far you've come. This spiral path is not an error in the design. It is the design. It brings you back, not to punish you, but to complete the cycle. Each return is a refinement, a deepening, a chance to integrate what you once could only survive. And yes, sometimes it feels heavy. Sometimes you think, I already did this. I already cried through this. I already forgave this. But healing is not a checklist. It is a rhythm. And every rhythm has its waves. Some parts of you heal quickly.
Others are layered, protected by time, by memory, by your readiness. The universe knows when you are strong enough to go deeper. The mirror will only show what you are able to meet. So if a pattern has returned, it is not because you are
weak. It is because you are ready to understand it in a way you couldn't before. Think about an emotional wound, a fear of abandonment, a pattern of rejection, a cycle of self-sabotage. You may have already seen it, named it, even worked through it, but now it shows up again. You're not broken, you're just in the next spiral, say, one level higher. And this time, you see it not just as pain, but as programming, not just as hurt, but as history. And that shift, that's evolution. Most people run from the spiral. They want a straight path, a clean break from the past. But the spiral says, come closer. There's more here. There's gold beneath this soil. And when you stop resisting the return, when you meet it with stillness instead of judgment, it transforms. You begin to see the wisdom in your own story. You stop asking why again and start asking what now. And that single shift changes everything, because now the return isn't a trap. It's a doorway. Not back into pain, but through it. And let's be honest, this spiral path is humbling. It doesn't care about timelines. It doesn't care how spiritual you are. You can meditate every day and still get triggered. You can understand the Hermetic laws and still forget them. You can feel clear in the morning and lost by night. That doesn't mean you're failing. That means you're human and healing. The spiral invites you to let go of the fantasy of arrival. There is no final destination. There is only unfolding. Even the masters revisit their pain, but with gentler hands. Even the sages tremble sometimes, but with deeper trust. Progress is not that you never feel darkness. Progress is that you no longer fear it. So the next time you feel like you're back at square one, pause, look closer, feel deeper. You'll notice your breath is slower now, your awareness is wider. You're not collapsing like before. You're witnessing. You're choosing. That's not a return to square one. That's transformation in motion. And if the spiral feels slow, trust it. The deepest roots grow in the dark. The most powerful expansions begin in the retreat. You may not see it yet, but the spiral is carrying you higher. Every time you come back around, you bring more light with you, so honor the return. Sit with the ache. Feel what rises. Let the old memory play one last time, and choose differently. Speak more kindly, breathe more fully, love more honestly. That's how the spiral becomes the path of mastery. And remember, you are not looping. You are orbiting toward your highest self. You are not lost. You are moving in sacred rhythm. You are not back at the beginning. You are standing on a higher rung of the same truth. And from here, everything looks different. You've learned the laws. You've walked through vibration, through polarity, through rhythm and reflection. You've looked into the mirror. You've faced the spiral. You've felt the rise and fall of your own becoming. And now, something quieter arrives, something deeper, a truth that was always whispering behind every teaching. The laws are not separate, they are one. The Hermetic principles are not pieces of a puzzle. They are threads in a single divine fabric, each one illuminating a different angle of the same source. They don't compete, they harmonize. They don't pull you in 7 directions, they pull you inward to the center of the pattern. The code behind the code, the breath beneath all breath. Mentalism told you, all is mind, that everything you see is shaped by thought. Vibration told you, all moves, that nothing rests, that frequency is language. Correspondence showed you, all mirrors, that the outer reflects the inner. Polarity revealed all things are dual, that the opposites are not enemies. Rhythm taught you, all flows, that every phase has its sacred timing. Cause and effect reminded you, all creates, that nothing is chance. And gender whispered, all births. That creation itself requires the dance of two. But now, as you stand at the threshold of this final lesson, you're invited to step back, not to study the threads, but to see the tapestry, to stop analyzing and start embodying, because knowing the laws is not enough. You must become them. You are not just a reader of the Kybalion, you are a vessel of it. Each time you observe your thoughts and choose to shift your frequency, you live mentalism. Each time you slow down, breathe deeper, and align your state, you honor vibration. Each time you stop blaming the world and look within, you apply correspondence. Each time you hold paradox without panic, you walk in polarity. Each time you honor your rise and your fall, you dance with rhythm. Each time you choose differently, speak differently, love differently, you activate cause and effect. And each time you balance your action with stillness, your will with trust, you unite the energies of gender. It's all one movement, one intelligence, one law unfolding through many forms. When you begin to live this way, reality softens. Not because it becomes easy, but because it becomes clear. You stop expecting the world to bend to your will. You begin to shape it through your being. You stop reacting blindly. You start responding consciously, because now you see the web, you see the weave, you see the divine mechanics behind every moment. Even chaos becomes readable. Even pain becomes purposeful. Even the unknown becomes sacred. Because now you're not a passenger in the universe. You're a participant, a co-creator, a conscious node in a living mind, and that mind, the all, it moves through you with every breath. There is no need to memorize these laws. They are already encoded in your being. You live them every day, in how you love, how you think, how you pause, how you speak. This isn't about mastering information. It's about remembering who you were before you forgot, before the noise, before the conditioning, before the forgetting. You are not separate from these laws. You are the law. The Kybalion is not outside you. It's unfolding through you. So the question is no longer, what are the 7 laws? The question is, how do I become the harmony they point to? And the answer is gently, moment by moment, with presence, with practice, with awe, because the universe doesn't need more students.
It needs living instruments, people who breathe rhythm, who speak with vibration, who love in polarity, who walk in the mirror with humility, who plant causes with care, who receive and act in sacred balance. People like you, not perfect,
but aware. So now, as this journey comes to rest, a deeper one begins. The teachings are no longer words, they're choices. The scroll is no longer paper. It's your life. And the temple is no longer distant, it is your breath. You don't need more time. You don't need more preparation. You don't need another sign. You've already crossed the threshold. The law is alive within you. Now, live it. You didn't watch this video, it watched you. You didn't find these teachings and watch it. They found you. Not through accident, but through a sacred alignment. Something deep inside you whispered long ago, there must be more. And the universe, in its perfect silence, answered. This was never education, it was remembrance, a calling from the depths of your being to return to what was always yours. You've moved through ancient laws that were never outside of you. They lived in your blood, in your breath, in your quietest moments. You didn't learn them, you remembered them. And now that quiet whisper inside you, it has become a voice, not loud but clear, not commanding but certain. Because the laws you've just walked through, they're not rules, they're not commands, they are reflections, frequencies, patterns that live in the bones of existence. They don't govern life, they are life. You are not a student of these laws, you are a living expression of them. Every time you breathe with awareness, you embody rhythm. Every time you choose presence over panic, you align with vibration. Every time you honor a feeling instead of fearing it, you reflect polarity. You don't have to remember the names. You already carry the essence. So now the real journey begins, the one no video can take you through. The invitation is not to memorize, it is to live, to pause before you react, to feel your own energy before you speak, to move through your day with the quiet power of someone who knows. The universe is responding not to their wishes, but to their state, and yes, life will still test you. The spiral will still return, the mirror will still reflect. But you now have eyes that see, you have a heart that listens, you have a soul that remembers. You'll know that when the pattern returns, it's not because you failed, it's because you're ready to see it more clearly, more gently, more truthfully. The Kybalion was never meant to be read. It was meant to be heard, through silence, through stillness, through your own lived experience. You are not separate from its teachings. You are what happens when the whisper becomes the voice. You are what happens when vibration becomes embodiment. So go now, not to chase something new, but to walk differently in the life you already live. Speak carefully, think clearly, love deeply. Let your vibration rise without trying. Let your presence be the prayer. Because now that you've remembered, the universe will begin to respond quietly, precisely, powerfully, because you're
Not just part of the laws, you are the law becoming aware of itself.